Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. This video is definitely long overdue. For some reason, and I'm not sure why, the algorithm apparently has been recommending my Nesut Nectar videos to a lot of people, and I've been getting more views and a lot more questions and comments on those videos. So I just wanted to come back and give a quick update as far as my experience with this product. It has been about a year, at least a year. Now here comes my cat. He don't pay me no mind all day long. As soon as he hears me talking to the camera, here he comes. What do you want, man? Nothing. Come here. I know how to distract your ass. Come on. So it has been about a year, maybe a little longer, since I did a Nesut Nectar video. First things first, we have to get out of the way. Of course, this is not medical advice. I am not a licensed medical professional, and I am not telling you what to do. I'm only expressing in these videos my thoughts and opinions. I am not affiliated with the company in any way. These videos should not be taken as instructions for anyone to do anything except to use their own judgment and do their own due diligence and research. Another reason I got a burn. The healing, like the progress of the healing is really amazing. I will put it on screen separately so you can see. But I burned myself pretty badly. It was one of those burns that would like have puffed up and gotten like fluid in it and all of that kind of thing. And I don't have aloe at the current time, but I did have like a bottle of aloe, which is pretty good. And also lavender essential oil. And it just wasn't looking too much better. And then it occurred to me, someone left a comment on a Nesut Nectar video. So how the universe works, right? God moves. I was like, wait, I put Nesut Nectar on it. And even though I'd had the burn at that point for maybe 4 to 5 days, 4 or 5 days of just using the aloe, I put Nesut Nectar on it. And the clip I'm going to show you is from a couple days ago. As soon as I started putting Nesut Nectar on it, it was like healing almost immediately, right? Within a couple hours. And I was like, yeah, it's time to do a video. The signs are there. So as far as using the Nesut Nectar as an eyedropper, I personally have not done that. I know it's been at least 8 months. I have used it in my eyes, and we'll get to that in a second. I've mainly used it for first aid, cuts, scrapes, scratches, insect bites. I've even traveled with it, and it's really good for that. Is this how many ounces? Well, it's 60 ml. I know I've never had any incident with like TSA or anything like that. Within the past few months, I went to Cuba, I went to Jamaica. I did not take this to Jamaica. I didn't think about it at the time. If you're traveling to one of those countries where you might get bit up a little bit, this is so soothing and healing for those kind of bites. Speaking of being in Jamaica, I was so determined while I was there to get like some raw Jamaican honey. I did end up getting some Jamaican honey, but not raw honey. And I'm still disappointed about that, but that is okay. I will be back, and I do have some connections there who will assist me with getting like those raw, like the raw castor oil, all of the good organic things when I travel back, or should I say travel forward, okay? Come forward to Jamaica. But, as I think about honey, we know that people have used all different types of honey for first aid. I have experimented, right, with using different types of honey, like honey that I've gotten here that was like locally sourced raw honey. Now, I didn't test it like on this burn. I just strictly used Nesut Nectar. But let's say I have something where I burn myself, I have a cut or something, and I would use different types of raw honey or like manuka honey, whatever, whatever's clever. And I would put like Nesut Nectar on, let's say one side, put the other honey on the other side. There was definitely a difference. This is different, something special. I talked about in my previous video, wearing off mascara and lashes and things like that through this whole Nesut Nectar process, not wanting to put anything artificial or artificially enhance my lashes. And I also talked about how the Nesut Nectar enhanced my lash, like my lashes grew and got thicker and things like that. And even when I was just getting ready to do this video, I was looking in the mirror and I was like, yeah, my lashes look really, really good. Wow, even this much longer since I've used the Nesut Nectar. Now, that being said, I have slipped up a couple times over that, 1 year. And it seems like every time now my eyes are now super sensitive to things like that, to things like lash glue and mascara. My birthday came and I was going out and I'm like, oh, I could just put, a touch of mascara. Bam. A sty starts to develop. And I had 2 that I can think of. I know it was no more than 2 or 3. And I'm like, each time I learn my lesson and then I'm like, I'm not doing it. And then it seems like a special event or something comes up and I try to do lashes or do mascara, do any of those totally unnecessary things. We know that. And my eyes paper, they're like, no, honey, no, just stop playing with us. But the first time that it happened, I was like, what am I gonna do? What do I have? Something for my eyes, right? Nesut Nectar. I'm not a person who's really prone to styes. I would say in my lifetime, I've gotten them a handful of times. And I felt like those ones that I got since using the Nesut Nectar was more of like, it was that contamination. It was like like introducing a level of contamination, chemicals, whatever you want to call it, that my body was just like, absolutely not. We have to get rid of this, and ramping up those white blood cells and forming a sty to contain everything. Well, the very first time that happened, I put some Nesut Nectar in. Now, if you guys remember way back at that time when I got my Nesut Nectar, and apparently according to the comments that I've gotten since then, it seems like KT maybe has updated or expanded the instructions that come with the Nesut Nectar, right? But what I received, it didn't say a lot about like how long to keep the drops in your eye, how to get the drop into your eye. And so I was watching a YouTube video, one person who said, make a little cup with your eyelid and drop the drop down into it. And KT's instruction, I believe now, is like to tip your head back and just drop the drop straight onto the eyeball. So in the sty situation, I did forming a little cup. The sty was on the bottom lid. And so I put the Nesut Nectar in, and my goal with that was, because the Nesut Nectar, it does sting a little bit and it causes your eyes to water. I wanted to like keep the Nesut Nectar kind of in that area, right, of the eyelid. And so I did that. I kind of cupped it and I just put a little bit in, a little small drop. But then I also lined the bottom lid with a little and went to sleep that way. And I woke up that morning. I think I did actually even take video then, but it was so gross. It was gross and it was beautiful, right? It was beautifully, marvelously disgusting, because I woke up and my eye was just full of goop. The goop from the sty. The sty was gone. You guys, I'm telling you, it's been rare for me that I've gotten a sty, but typically whether I went like a holistic route with it or I went like a mainstream, whatever treatment for a sty, they usually will last over a week, more like a 7 to 10 day range, right? So for me to wake up in the morning, the sty is completely gone and all of the infection or whatever it was like there. And I just took a Q-tip and like pulled it up. Oh my gosh, you guys. I wish I have it on video. It was like some Dr. Pimple Popper stuff. And I'm not one of those people. Like, I can't even stand to watch those kind of things. So I'm like, I was so fascinated and disgusted. And I just, it took like a couple Q-tips, you know what I mean? Of just like pulling everything out, and it was like kind of white and milky and gross. Too much info. I'll put a like warning, warning, for a trigger warning for those who can't stand that kind of conversation. But it was amazing to me too, because in past situations when I've had a sty, I'm like, where did all that go? Did it go back into my body? And then I wouldn't have known so much to try to detox from all of that. Yeah, where does all of that go? If you have a sty and you put whatever they sell in the drugstore on it, and it takes 7 to 10 days and then finally kind of like eventually shrinks on its own, but I don't know what's really happening. But I know with the Nesut Nectar, I saw that, I will say it imploded. It did something. And I mean, it all happened in my sleep. It was painless. And you know, styes can be very painful. I don't want to go on and on about this sty, but I feel like that's how my experience has been with the Nesut Nectar, is like each time I discover a different way to use it personally, I'm just so much in awe of what happens. But I do want to do like a little PSA here. I did get some questions about people having reactions. There was one person I remember who said that he had his eyes like stayed red and that he still felt the burning sensation at least a day or maybe several days after using the Nesut Nectar as an eye drop. So you guys definitely, you know, consult with SoIonic first and foremost, because that's where you're getting the honey from, if that's where you're getting the honey from. But you have to use your own discretion, right? I mean, I would not personally stay at home for, 3, 4, 5 days, even 2, in like serious discomfort and saying that your eyes are burning and you're still feeling pain, or you're just like weeping constantly. There is a point, like I'm very much into holistic medicine, but if you need to get help, there are holistic practitioners. I can't tell anyone what to do, but I can say that for myself personally, I did not have any type of reactions like that, right? And if something like that happened, I would be very concerned and I would just use my best judgment as far as what my next steps would be. Another sort of question or comment that I've gotten is people saying that their shipping process took a really long time, or that they have some sort of customer service difficulties with SoIonic Botanicals. I have not experienced any customer service difficulties. You know, could be a high volume of orders. I don't know. I have no idea, but I have gotten some comments like that. And also people asking, hey, do you know another source for the honey? Because people are maybe concerned about the shipping taking a long time. I did personally wait 30 days, like about a month, for me to actually receive the honey after I ordered it. I do not have a contact of another source for the honey. Trust and believe, like everywhere I go, when I've traveled lately and just, you know, meeting people from other countries, if someone says they're from the Caribbean or South America or something like that, because I did, as I was researching Nesut Nectar, I did find that there are other countries that have, you know, stingless bee honey, but I haven't found any contact or source. And I felt like just me personally selecting the Nesut Nectar, I just had a level of trust for KT and his business, and I decided to go with him. So I haven't experimented, and I don't plan to experiment with buying other brands. And it's really time right now for me to order some more. I feel like my experience with this product has been great to the extent that I'm fully comfortable with like waiting for 30 days. I know it's not Amazon, an Amazon operation over there, which I am very much grateful for. But, you know, definitely for myself, if it got into the 3-month, 6-month territory or no one's responding, I would definitely think twice, and I would definitely look into alternatives to get my money restored to me. So another comment that I've gotten that's really interesting is about expectations. And by no means, I don't want to mitigate anyone's expectations or tell people to lower their expectations. But one comment or certain type of comment really stood out to me. These questions about, I don't fully recall if the people said KT was saying this or someone else reviewed the product and said it, but questions about superpowers and enhanced brain power, etc. Being able to see 3 miles away, seeing a net. See a net lands in a pool, a drop of pollen, okay? No, I did not have that type of experience. It didn't cause me to see through walls. It didn't cause my third eye to shatter and reconstruct itself in the 5th dimension. None of those things happened for me personally. That doesn't mean it can't happen for you. Yeah, I'm not sure where those kind of thoughts are coming from. You know, I'm definitely fully with the woo-woo. I would just say, man, you know, if you're buying this honey with the intention to maybe the protocol would be a lot more complicated than just a blunt for breakfast, McDonald's for lunch, and put the drop in your eye. You know what I mean? I think that would be like a very serious spiritual and physical, mental, supernatural journey, right? I don't think that just the eye drops alone, I'm being a little bit silly, but I did get, you know, questions of that nature though, about like superpowers and superlative enhancements. Yes, this is a miraculous product. But for me, it was very much miraculous. Like when my sty imploded, is the word I like to use for it, imploded gently with no pain, and all of that infection and nastiness was gone from 0 recovery time. And you know, this is something that it would have been, I know, months and months for me in my normal healing process. Yeah, that's the supernatural part of it for me. And it's interesting to me. I feel like a lot of those comments have come from guys, from men. Men want to level up, man. It seems like the fellas want to level up quick. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I would love to see a video like that where someone's like, bam, close their eyes, open them up, and they're on some supercell, like laser vision. But don't do that video, because we need to keep KT in business. We don't need him disappearing. You know what I mean? Other questions that I've gotten to are about very serious medical conditions. People saying, maybe my grandpa has cataracts. I want to try this with him. Do you know what will happen with cataracts? Or just severe cases, right? Someone saying, man, I'm blind in one eye. You get the idea. I don't know, right? I seriously, honestly don't know. I know that there is research out there, and I remember seeing a research paper. You have to do your own research. You can talk to KT. Some of the videos that I watch with KT, and I haven't really watched any Nesut Nectar videos lately because I have the product now. But before I bought it, when I was researching, I do remember him mentioning at one point that there was a certain protocol. Again, it seems like it was a lot more involved, right, than just using the drops. And it also seemed like people were using the drops for an extended period of time. In my real life, you know, I had some different reactions from people I know. The loudest skeptic and the person who just kept talking the most and saying, that is so crazy. Why would you put honey in your eye? That is insane, or whatever. And I had to calmly and quietly remind that person of, you know, their pharmaceutical pill popping addiction, recreational pharmaceutical pill popping addiction, and they got quiet. and didn't say anything else. The Nesut Nectar definitely has sent me or helped to put me on a journey, and I think back on a path of just being more natural, being more aware. And I talked about this a lot in the other videos, just being more conscious of what I put on my body and in my body, and making a conscious effort. I went through a whole period of like attempting to replace my entire wardrobe, like get all of the polyester and the synthetic fabrics in my wardrobe primarily. Man, and then I went to Jamaica. That's like a whole other topic and a whole other video, but I stayed at a Rastafarian village. Man, it made me feel like everything that I have been doing till this point, getting that exposure, I'm like, oh man, I need to get it together. Just the benefits of going a natural route and just getting as close as possible and being consistent, right? And that consistency is key. That is what Nesut Nectar, like my number one thing. Then this is a really powerful medicine in my opinion. Of course, your results may vary. Maybe you will have laser vision. Maybe you will see through walls. Maybe you will enhance your psychic abilities. Sure, maybe it will be more physical for you. Maybe your vision will be corrected. The other day, I saw a video about Matt Barnes. I don't really follow him or know too much about him, but apparently he's an influencer. And he was very controversial like this past week because he said something about he hadn't cried in 30 years, of course, in the past videos. And I talked about how once I began using the Nesut Nectar and that just that act of crying and developing sort of this ability to cry again. And I had not cried in decades, you know, just like Matt Barnes, or I was talking to someone, a friend. I think it's really something in our community, this idea that you're not supposed to cry. You better not cry or I'm going to give you something to cry about, right? Not wanting to be weak, or you can't show your weakness because, man, you can't laugh at our trauma, right? Then cry because there's too much going on. Laughing to keep from crying. Just like Matt Barnes and just like this old friend saying, man, you know, in my lifetime, I've cried 3 times and that's not relatable for me anymore. Y'all, I could cry, and it's not even, I don't feel like it's hormonal or anything like that. It's beyond a crying from sorrow or like I cry laughing, and I would always see people crying laughing, and I was like, that is so crazy to me. Like I wanted that so badly, and I do it now all the time. Cry laughing, a nostalgic thought, and I will get tears in my eyes. That's something that just did not happen. And I think it was more like an emotional blockage, a spiritual blockage, right? Just on another level. And it's very subconscious. And even when I'm talking to that person who I've known for a year, probably 20 years at this point. Now with my new perspective, like, do you think that's okay? Would you want to? And they're like, no, I don't think so. I mean, I'm just saying. And they kind of were even saying it proudly. And I cried when my child was born, and I cried when my father died, and that's it. And that's my 3, lifetime adult cries. I mean, I think it's kind of tragic what we associate with strength and being strong. And there's also a resistance. His son crying, and he couldn't believe that his son was crying. And he was telling his adult son that he shouldn't cry and relating to him like that he had never cried. And it's just, man, that cycle that we need to overcome. And I feel like the Nesut Nectar really just broke through that for me. And it did it in a very subtle and gentle way, right? Because somehow, as I wasn't even aware, it's like, oh, it's just a physical reaction, right? It's a physical reaction to putting the honey into my eye. My eyes tear up and tears come out. Gone back and I've watched my own videos and I've seen just a transformation and a growth in myself. But let me be clear, right? It wasn't just the honey, right? There was other things. There was like layers and levels and personal work and things like that. But I do feel like the honey definitely contributed. Just the facts or the ability, the fact that I cried, and I had to cry in like a clinical, I had to cry in like a clinical setting first, right? With working with the honey, and then allow myself to like, oh, this is okay. This is not too bad. And seeing like how crying can like clear your energy and how it's natural and it's normal and it's okay. And I have been spreading the word about that. Just the transformation that I feel happened. I wrote in my notes that it was emotional, social, my ability to receive love and not oppressing emotions, i.e. anger and discomfort. And I feel like that's a part of it too, right? It's not just about crying when you're sad or being weak, those weak moments that you cry. But you know what? I could be frustrated. I could be really frustrated and I could let a tear drop. Or if I'm in pain, I'm not going to sit there and grit my teeth and say, because, out of fear of corporal punishment or getting yelled at or something like that doesn't even exist in my reality anymore, but it's like programmed into me. Yeah, I can cry. And I'm still seeing the fruits of that months later. Everything, all levels of my life, the honey played a role is all I can say. You know what? Speaking of the superpowers and people asking about superpowers, that is a superpower for me, right? I'm in my soft girl era. Is that what they call it? My soft woman. Yeah, like entering my soft girl era fearlessly. Yes. Something else I talked about in past videos was about dreams. Yes, working with the Nesut Nectar sort of triggered some things for me or made things happen, I would say, like magically or unconsciously. Like I have studied lucid dreaming. It's that book. Yep, it's right there. Oh, a lot of y'all know this one, right? The astral dynamics of it all and different things, right? And doing different types of meditation and practices and things like that. And then I used the Nesut Nectar and it was like, lucid dreaming, you're welcome. Congratulations, you know. But now, since that experience, it did prompt me to approach all of that in a different way, really exploring that, you know. Again, I can't see through walls and I did not turn into Megamind, but that is okay. Like, is it supernatural? Is it giving superpowers? Potentially. The number one thing and the reason that I started this journey and went into all of this was about my vision, right? And wanting to address issues that I was having with eye strain and being prescribed glasses in my work. And then of course I was getting into like doing YouTube sort of as a hobby at that point, but I was spending a lot of time like editing, of course, devices and things like that. I was just looking at screens between work, personal life, the entertainment, right? It was like looking at screens nonstop all day, every day. And that was affecting my vision. I also was really concerned about certain macular degeneration. They talk about like calcification and things that as people enter their 40s was sort of what motivated me to start using the honey in the first place. And I can say without a doubt that I had a long-term improvement personally in my vision. Now, keep in mind though, that my vision was, a lot of my problems were due to eye strain. And I believe myself also like a level of, I was calling it infection, just that my eyes were dirty and they hadn't been really flushed and properly cleaned. And I had never done a detox for my eyes. I've participated in all kinds of, you know, lung detox, detoxing the gut, blood, circulatory, you know, all of that's kind of maybe thinking or assuming that those things would help with the eyes. But with the Nesut Nectar, this was something that just directly and undeniably worked with my eyes, not just my eyes, my brain, my sinuses, the ducts in my face and things like that. But getting back to the vision piece of it, personally, I did receive a long-term enhancement or improvement of my vision and that whole situation that I was having with, you know, headaches, eye pain, eye strain, irritability that came along with all of that is completely dissipated, is completely gone. I have thought about, but I haven't actually gone into any sort of like maintenance regimen with the Nesut Nectar as far as using it as an eye drop. Do not want it to be something that I had that progress and then it goes away, right? And then I'm back in the same cycle again of like starting from scratch. So that is something that I've been very aware about, but I also have been very careful about just taking better care of my eyes, right? Not wearing eyeliner and mascara and all of that crap, gluing stuff onto my eyes, using only like natural soaps and things on my face and in my eye area. What else? Blue light glasses, turning on the different features devices have, setting time limits for my social media consumption. It's like a laundry list, right, of things that I've done. I don't need the glasses that were prescribed to me for the eye strain and everything. I don't need them anymore. I don't have blurry vision. Yeah, I need to think about that though. Like, do I want to keep using the Nesut Nectar as an eye drop? Do I want to do it every day? For me, it was more, I want to try to reverse or help the damage that I've done, right, and then maintain it. And that's kind of what maintained the improvement. And that's kind of what I've been doing or focusing on. But if I decide to go back in and use the Nesut Nectar as an eye drop on an ongoing basis, I will let you know. As far as any sort of instructions or guidance from KT, my takeaway was that that was more so needed for people who had the more severe, serious vision issues that would need to use it, you know, daily or multiple times a day or for an extended period of time. You know, maybe it's just that business is good, right? Business is so good. And KT is getting all this healing ancient medicine out to the community, and we might just have to be patient a little bit. Yeah, I thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully that answers all of the questions that you guys might have for me. As always, I love y'all. Peace.